did you ditch vegetarian and vegan and went full carnivore?
My testosterone levels dropped. So maybe the gun was loaded and then maybe that pulled the trigger. My health felt like it declined. And then when we incorporated, I guess, some more healthy fats and meats, it kind of started to reverse a little bit and started to feel better.
Rob Downton is an elite hybrid athlete, ultramarathon runner, chiropractor, special forces veteran, performance coach, and a gym owner. Over the years, he has experimented with nearly every diet available, including vegan, vegetarian, low-carb, keto, omnivore, carnivore, and now a heavily meat-based omnivore approach.
When I was carnivore, I felt a little bit less stressed because I seemed like I had more time. It created time, it created space. The diet to live to 100 and the diet to be the best athlete should be the same.
How long did you stay full carnivore? What were the blood tests?
Quite a few reasons, but one was just to go.
Welcome to Chief Life, the podcast that cuts the crap with science-backed insights on health, nutrition, and performance. Get expert advice, actionable tips, and everything you need to take control of your health and live your best life. Let's get started. Hi, Rob, and welcome to the Chief Life podcast. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I saw before when we were getting prepped your crew around you. Can you show us who you got there?
Yeah, so I've got one cat just leaving now. That's Lilybet. She just got back from radiation today for her thyroid. We've
Oh,
got King Carlos, the top chihuahua there. He's asleep, and Tiny Tim. And then also over here, Parkour. And where is he? Can I get him in there? Where's Saji? Hey,
he's
Sarge.
there.
There he is.
Cute.
Where is he there? Yep. So they're all bunkered down in front of the heater because it's a little bit chilly out west here. So they're all snuggled up having a snooze.
Amazing. I just wanted to show the listeners because that's one of the things that I love about you, rescue animals.
Oh,
And you have a lot of them. I've been on your farm and I'm so excited. I was dying to have you on the podcast because you're probably the most unique person I've ever met, especially when it comes to physical fitness. And before we start talking, I just want to paint the picture to the listeners. So you are 45 years old and you're the true hybrid athlete. You can run, you can do CrossFit, you did bodybuilding, strongman, and you actually excel in all of it. I have never met anyone like that. And to start with, I don't like reading out, but I actually have to read some of your stats because it's incredible. So listen to this, guys. So Rob, you're 45 now, yeah?
I am,
Yeah, 45, the
unfortunately.
same as me.
Yeah.
So Rob is 45 years old, 178 centimeters tall, usually around 98 kilos and 10% body fat or below all year round. So picture that, guys. Big dude. He can deadlift 310 kilos, 250k squat, 160k bench. But then also you can run. Your PB for 5k is 1740, 12 hours for 100k, and 23 hours for 100 mile. And what blows my mind is that you ran the Kokoda Trail in 22 hours and placed second, while generally public average Joe people walk this trail in 7 to 10 days. And I did it myself walking and I kept falling on my ass and thinking the whole time, how the hell people run here because it's so steep and slippery. And I'm a trail runner, so it is incredible. And so I will post all your other stats that I found or in the show notes. But why I want to talk to you, like, there are so many other things we could talk about. We could talk about running, strength training, because you're also a strength coach, you're a chiropractor. We could talk about lots of different things about your races. But I just want to talk about your diet, because with all these achievements that you had, you went through about every single diet from omnivore to vegan, vegetarian, low-carb, keto, and carnivore. And you also have been getting your blood tests done every 2.5 years, every 6 months, or even more frequently for the last 3 years. and you are celiac. So you have a lot of data that we can discuss, and you went through all these different diets. So what I want to talk about today is how every single of those diets made you feel, how that affected your performance, your mental health, and your blood tests. Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
up for it.
Okay. So you've tried every diet on this earth, every healthy diet, because I know that you always eat healthy. Like if you're vegan, you're healthy vegan. If you are carnivore, you're healthy carnivore. You don't eat junk. So why did you try all these diets, and what were your results in a nutshell?
Yeah, I guess throughout my whole life, I guess I've tried to eat quote unquote healthy, whatever the definition of health was at the time. So even as a young kid, back then I was, fat phobic. So I'd eat wheat bix with boiled water because fat was bad. I didn't want milk. I wouldn't have cheese. I'd have pasta with tomato sauce and pretty much lack of protein because anything that was protein also had fat. And back then, I thought that was healthy. Now, kind of slightly different. It's probably a little bit reversed, and I'll have more fat and more protein and slightly less carbohydrates. But regardless, a lot of my foods throughout my whole life has been whole foods. So when you say healthy, for me, I interpret that almost as whole foods because
Yeah.
I think the definition of health will change probably two or three times throughout our lifetime. So yeah, let me just preface with that nearly everything that I've done throughout my whole life regardless of what style of dietary approach I've had, it's always been whole foods. And I guess this started off probably around 10 years ago, would have been 2014 or 2015. A friend of mine at the gym actually was suffering from really, really bad migraines and headaches. And back back then, one of his doctors suggested that he tried a ketogenic diet. So he went down the rabbit hole of ketone urine strips, a blood test, fingerprint ketones, breath analyzer, and being competitive. It started out really rather than biohacking or ketones and ketosis and all that. It was a competition of who can get the highest ketones. So pretty much back then, 2014, cut out carbs, was just pretty much having close to a kilo of pork belly a day, um, with other obviously animal fats and things like that. And my ketones went through the roof. Um, didn't get any blood tests or anything back then. That was purely just an experiment to see how I felt. After that, I did a juice fast. I know that you're big into your water fast, which you do two or three times a year. I've never done a water fast. Back then, I did a juice fast. That was for 7 days, and my healthy version back then, and to keep up with having some type of nice taste was I just did it with like those nudie juices. So now when I look back, it's probably not that healthy.
It was just concentrated sugar.
Yeah, pretty much.
How did
And
it
that's
make you feel? Okay, I want to know. How did the
well,
juice fast make you feel?
well, it didn't actually make me feel that bad because I think I just had so much kind of energy and calories and I was exercising a lot, but I was always on the go and I was always supplemented or had the background caffeine kind of adrenal overload to kind of pump me
Okay,
through
so
the day.
it wasn't true juice cleanse. You still had
No, it
caffeine
wasn't. It
and
was
supplement.
caffeine and nudie juices was pretty much my juice
And did
fast.
you have any protein with it?
Not for those 7 days.
No.
No,
Okay. All
no,
right.
nothing. Um, and
So
then
sugar
after
and
that,
caffeine.
sugar and caffeine.
Pretty
Pretty
much.
much
Okay.
what's the latest trend going around now? The sugar diet. Pretty
Yeah.
much
Okay.
pretty much that. Um, and then I started to get a little bit more health based, quote unquote, and do some blood tests. And then that's when I went down, I guess, more of the rabbit hole of different types of diets. And yeah, that started off going from the juice kind of thing. I won't call it a juice cleanse because it probably didn't cleanse me too well. Um, but then that's when I went vegetarian,
Mhm.
got blood tests. That was just maybe 6 or 8 months before the Game Changers movie came out. After the Game Changers movie came out, and I was vegetarian at that point, the next thing to step it up is to go vegan. So then I went vegan for a little while.
How long?
I,
How long were you
uh,
vegan
so
for?
I was vegetarian for probably about 6 months, and then vegan probably only for about 6 weeks.
Okay,
I
so
just
not
found
long
that was a
enough.
little bit too difficult for me at the time, only because I live on, a little hobby farm and I've got lots and lots of chickens. And then from going vegetarian, where I was having a little bit of eggs, to then going vegan and not having any eggs, next minute my fridge is overloaded with eggs. So I'm like, better start getting through some of these eggs. So then I went vegetarian, vegan, back to vegetarian, then pescatarian,
Hmm.
and then kind of one day is just like got out of bed on the wrong side and went straight carnivore. And then just
Okay.
like, yeah. And
All
as I
right. Well,
said, as
yeah.
you said, got blood tests the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take it one by one. So you turned vegetarian and you stayed like that for 6 to 8 months, which is
Yep.
quite good chunk of a time. Can you tell us what did you do for training? How did you feel and what were your blood tests like? And why did you ditch the vegetarian and vegan and went full carnivore?
So that's kind of a longish question, and to not bore listeners or viewers, I'll cut it back down. And you mentioned in the introduction that I had celiac disease. Now, I don't know, I got diagnosed with celiac disease around 3.5 years ago, but I don't actually know how long I had celiac disease. So, what I did notice when I went vegetarian and cut out, the meat, the chicken, all that type of stuff, I did get really, really quote unquote shredded. I lost a lot of weight. Um, I was always very muscle bound. So the weight that I lost would have been some muscle, but it was also fat. And the more educated I am now around celiac disease, is when I got rid of the proteins and the meats and those type of things, I probably increased my amount of grain consumption and wheat and bread and those things that probably weren't good with my digestive system. And I probably had celiac. So the reason I think I lost a fair amount of weight, apart from calories in, calories out, was probably I wasn't digesting or absorbing the nutrients, probably. So although on the outside I looked good and I didn't feel too too bad, because like I'm always exercising, that gets the endorphins going. But now when I look back on it, I was like probably going vegetarian, and the way that I did it back then, I probably was malabsorbing a lot of micronutrients and probably macronutrients. That's why I lost a fair bit of weight. And what I noticed with my blood tests was, yes, my cholesterol and all those markers came down. My LDL, my HDL dropped, my triglycerides actually dropped, which is interesting when you increase the carbs, but they dropped, and my weight dropped. But also along with that, my testosterone levels dropped. I wasn't having hardly, any fats. Only fats I'd get would probably be from peanut butter and avocado. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, as I said, just lots of grains, and I think that's what may have may have you know
Trigger your
yeah
celiac.
may
And
well
no,
either I had sublying celiac there, but maybe
oh,
the
you would
stress
have
of
the
that and
gene, but
mm,
then if you overloaded yourself with
activated
so much
that.
gluten and stress, put your body under the stress, which, it's sign of stress when you have low testosterone.
Mm.
Usually, like you have the celiac gene, and then a stressful episode can trigger, like turn the gene on.
So maybe
Yeah.
the gun was loaded, and then maybe that pulled the trigger. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So low testosterone, how's everything else, like your sleep, your performance?
Well, just with some of the military stuff, my sleep has never been really good, so I don't really have a good comparison with
Mhm.
diet and sleep. But energy levels, they were okay. They gradually started to kind of decline. And maybe that, as again, was maybe from malnutrition through not absorbing anything. And then I also switched at the same time, from doing, the vegetarian vegan kind of thing. Is just quick sidetrack, is my partner at the time, because we do everything together. She started to eat like me, and she started to go vegetarian and vegan, and she's probably a little bit more disciplined than me, and she went really down the rabbit hole. She ended up getting quite sick, in terms of like cold and flu, and then that progressed actually to pneumonia. She couldn't recover, and after that, it was like, well, what came first, chicken or the egg? She got sick, pneumonia, vegan, vegetarianism. She incorporated some meat and fish and everything back in, slowly got better, and then that's when, we started eating more meat. So whether that had anything to do with it, who knows? But her kind of health declined. My health felt like it declined, and then when we incorporated, I guess, some more healthy fats and meats, it kind of started to reverse a little bit and
Yeah.
started to feel better.
Yeah, you know what is also a problem? So besides like the way you ate was obviously not enough protein and fat, but also there are studies that show how fruits and vegetables these days have 40 to 50% less nutrients than 50 years ago. So
Mm.
if you only eat vegetables and fruits, you're probably not getting enough nutrients that you need, which you can get from meat very easily. So I think that just adds to the issue and that causes, poor immune function and things like that.
Oh, definitely. And then just like very small confirmation of that, I guess, is like when I went to Papua New Guinea to run the Kokoda Trail, they they don't grow vegetables like we do. And that was the first time I'd gone to like a country that kind of ate similar food to us, but was also different culture. I'm going into the shops, like their bananas, which I think they call plantains.
Yeah,
They look nothing like our bananas. They're like
I know. I
a
hate
third of the
bananas.
size,
I never eat
and
bananas in Australia, but over
yeah.
there or in Brazil, I love the plantains. They actually have flavor and different
Mm.
texture, hey?
And that's what I noticed. I was like, oh, well, if these guys have one banana here or plantain or whatever, and then I have one banana back home, like my banana back home is worth four of their bananas. You'd have to have 12 of their bananas to have like two or three of ours. I'm like, oh, that's not really correct. Like, that's not biologically what we were supposed to be eating.
Yeah. Interesting. So then you did vegetarian, then vegan, and then straight from vegan you went to carnivore.
Pretty much.
Why? So why did you do it? How did it make you feel? How long did you stay full carnivore? What were the blood tests?
So with carnivore, there's quite a few reasons. Well, one was just to go the complete opposite to vegetarian and just see what happens. Two is that it was being a vegetarian, at least the way I did it with Whole Foods and all that. It just takes so long to do the food prep, cutting, peeling, cooking. Oh, it was just, always going to the shops to buy fresh food. Around where I live, there's lots of local farmers, so it's very easy to get, a cow or half a cow and put it in the chest freezer. So convenience was another reason why I went down the animal route. It was a lot easier to cook up a big rump steak or 2 kilos of mince or whatever and eat that over 2 or 3 days than it is to cook 4 or 5 times a day to have, you know,
Yeah.
the vegetarian softwood. So that was another reason. And then with the blood tests, what I noticed, what I noticed back then was like my HDL went up, my LDL went up, my testosterone went up, my iron, ferritin, all that went up. That was all very good. But now what I know or I've heard is I may be a lean mass hyper responder, from the last 2 years of the Dave Feldman and Nick Norwitz and that trial that I did have like the triad of those blood markers, and I think I have a hyper response to saturated fat, which increases my LDL quite a lot, and I've either got a problem where I can't constantly recycle the LDL, or I have, yeah, or problems excreting too much LDL. Maybe my liver keeps producing cholesterol even though I'm eating enough cholesterol, and then I get a double whammy. Who knows what high cholesterol is these days, and
Yeah.
if it's detrimental to heart health, it always changes. So
Yeah, you don't know, but like,
yeah.
so okay, so besides that LDL that's concerning you, everything else went the good direction, yes? So high testosterone, high iron, high B12.
Yeah, so that all was great. And the first time that I did carnivore, I did it more lean carnivore. So I still had the fats and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that, but it wasn't like choosing the fattiest cuts of meat and, you know, eating all the fat that comes with your beef mince or whatever. It would be like have the beef mince, but drain the fat out.
Yeah, that's the
It would,
bodybuilding carnivore.
yeah,
That's
exactly,
not the right
exactly.
way to do it.
Yeah, it's just, and that's what that. So, but when I noticed, to be honest, I didn't notice anything difference between doing the high fat carnivore and the lower fat carnivore in terms of how I felt with my body. But with my blood tests, when I went the fattier carnivore, for whatever reason, I don't know, my LDL went up, but also my triglycerides. And I don't really care about the LDL so much. When I say I don't, like it's always in the back of my mind, but like I
Yeah.
don't stress about it. But the triglycerides, I don't know why the triglycerides went up, other than through some research, is that because I was eating all this food, I was getting leaner. And I think when you start to lose weight on the carnivore diet, I think for a period of time, your LDL can kind of skyrocket, but then also your triglycerides can go up until you kind of get to a bit of homeostasis and you stop losing that initial weight loss and and kind of go into more of a maintenance type mode. I think those kind of markers settle down a
Yeah,
lot.
it takes time. So how long were you on the carnivore diet that first time? And that was a
Ooh.
strict carnivore, yeah? Like no
Yeah,
other,
that
just
so
meat
that
and
was
eggs.
yeah, strict carnivore, meat, eggs, and salt, bit of salmon. That was 2020. That was probably a good 6 months as well. Um,
And so how did you feel the whole time in comparison to the vegetarian and vegan in when it comes to your mental health, training, your general like daily well-being, your satiety, your happiness?
yeah, but like I actually felt great. Like
Yeah.
I felt good, and some of that obviously was because I wasn't slaving over a hot stove the whole time. It was like, oh, I can eat and then go and enjoy life rather than cooking and then kind of being tied to the kitchen. It's like, okay, well, I've just ate, I've got to eat again in 3 or 4 hours. I've got to start cooking my next meal soon. It just felt like I was inside cooking the whole time. And then when I was carnivore, I was like, well, I'll just eat when I'm hungry and the meat's there because I cooked it, yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think I felt a little bit less stressed because I seemed like I had more time. It created time, it created space. My training at the time back then was more CrossFitty, so I don't think I was going super, super long distances where there may have been a potential to feel tired or lethargic because I've burnt through all my glycogen or whatever you want to take on that. If it's the central governor theory or you actually deplete your muscle glycogen through exercise. Um, I wasn't going that long, so I didn't notice that. So everything was kind of 10 minutes or less. My strength was great. Obviously because my hormones were better. I had good power output for that 10 minutes or less. So at that time, I just felt great. Like I was like, oh, here's kind of the answer. And the only reason I started increasing vegetables and stuff again was because I don't know, I just thought it was the right thing to do. Back then it's like, oh, everyone eats vegetables. Vegetables aren't bad for
I
you. It's like, oh,
know, I did the
so
same and it totally screwed up my health for a while. But
yeah.
so you were full carnivore for 6 months, you felt great, and then you started incorporating vegetables because you thought you had to. So then
Mm,
you were like a whole foods omnivore. Were you
correct.
eating a lot of carbs or was it just meat, eggs, and like low starch veg, or did you eat any rice or anything like that?
No, I've never really been big into rice. And back then it was before celiac, so I was never really into big rice or pastas around then. So I was probably, if I was to sit on my backside all day and not eat, I would have been higher carb. I probably would back then without weighing or measuring, probably about 300 to 400 grams a day.
You were on the lion diet 3 weeks and then just added some veggies and fruits for 1 week and kept
Yep.
repeating that. You had good results. Why did you change and what did you change to?
Yeah, so the only reason I felt amazing, I lost a fair bit of weight that I wanted to lose. I wasn't skinny, I still had some muscle. I actually felt the best that I'd felt in a long time. And the only reason I changed was I got a little bit worried about the high cholesterol levels that I had, like astronomically high. Um, and then I cut out a fair bit of the meats again, or not. Actually, I didn't. I lie. I didn't cut out the meats, but I cut out a lot of the fat that was on the meats and went back to a leaner animal-based diet. And then I also did an experiment with the GP because she was hassling for me to go on statins. And obviously, I wasn't going to because I know that I can manipulate it with diet. But I did do a trial of ezetimibe tablets, um, just as an experiment. And I only took half an ezetimibe. So ezetimibe tablets are 10 milligrams. I was taking 5 milligrams every second day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And just by taking that, my cholesterol actually dropped way too low. So my total cholesterol went from 18.5 down to like 2.8,
Wow.
which the doctor was thrilled about because it's like, oh, you've got low cholesterol now. But like now I know that low cholesterol is probably worse than having high cholesterol. So
Yeah.
yeah, I stopped the tablets, went back to kind of how I was eating, mostly meat with a little bit of vegetables here and there. And I have largely stuck with not carnivore. Like, so, I guess for me, carnivore means you only eat meat, almost like the lion diet or with other types of meats. So for me, I'm very much animal based now. Whereas, nearly every meal I have will have, um, protein or an animal source, but then I'll also have, some fruits and vegetables or something with
Yeah.
it, most of the time.
And that's you to the best.
Yep. Yep.
So, over the years, have you ever taken any other medication than what you just said?
No, but I've tried a lot of different supplements, but I'm not. Part of the reason that I like the animal base or the carnivore thing is because you can get most of, if not all of your nutrients from your diet. And I often think of either medications or supplements as exactly that, like a supplement. So I think if you can get most things from your diet, then you're better off doing that than taking other things. So I guess what I'm getting at is I'm terribly bad at taking medication or supplements continuously. I should, if I was to take anything, I should put them in a pill box next to my toothbrush. So every time I brush my teeth, I take my tablets. But I'm just not that good. So I've tried, creatine and citrulline and beta alanine and all those performance sub, and I'll take them for like a week and then I forget.
Mhm.
So for me, having a complete diet is much more enjoyable and cheaper than buying medications and supplements, and I get to eat all my food.
I
So
love
to
it.
answer your question, no, I don't take really any medications
Yeah.
at all.
And is there any supplement that you felt like it made you feel better or improved your performance or anything? Like,
Um, well, yeah, caffeine, I
oh,
think,
yeah.
like, and but using it as a supplement or as an ergogenic aid, as opposed to using it for, just for social things or because you're addicted. So there's been quite a few races in my time where I've kind of had a caffeine detox for 6 to 8 weeks prior to the event. I know that current research says you might only have to lay off it for 10 to 14 days, but us performance type people is bigger and better. And if longer is harder, then longer must be better. So I stayed off for about 6 to 8 weeks. And
Mhm.
then only on kind of that race day or halfway through the race or whenever I think I need a bit of a boost, I'll have the caffeine in either a drink or tablets. And I have noticed that by far that has been the biggest, I guess, performance enhancer to help my training and competing is caffeine used for a supplement rather than just for being social.
Oh my God, yes. And mentally. So every single time I do the water only fast, I get off caffeine. And I
Mm,
get off it the week before, then I have the 5 day fast, and then I don't start for at least a week, sometimes 2 months. It happened.
mm.
And then when I have the coffee, it's like the best day in my life. You have like such a good mood and everything is amazing. And you go like a maniac in the gym and run so fast. And it's like, it just really works. But when you have it every day, you don't have that effect anymore. It's just
No,
like a little bit
100%.
like something. But like, that's why I periodically get off caffeine to get that feeling and to use it for training or competition or whatever that is. It does work.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can totally relate with that.
Yeah. So, okay, so when it comes to mental health and the way you feel mentally, have any of the diets made any difference to how you felt mentally, or do you always feel the same?
Um, I can't, yeah, like I'd love to just say, because I am a big believer in meat, fat, and protein, I'd love to say that by going strict carnivore and only having that, I felt like this overwhelming euphoria of being unbeatable. But
Yeah.
to be honest, I didn't. But having said that, like I didn't feel any worse. What I did notice and why, for my particular situation, is I still gravitate towards that is because of ease, um, because of the completeness, I guess, of the diet. And then just with that ease, it's just allows so much time to either work, train, socialize, not worry about your food. I did notice that when I was having a lot of, on the vegetarian diet, I was always looking forward to my next meal. It's like I just finished eating and I'm like, well, when can I eat next? I could have just eaten non-stop if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then that starts to consume your life in terms of like almost like a bit of an addiction, I guess. So by cutting out some of those meats and things, like I felt fuller for longer. I didn't feel like I had to eat. And then that in itself is a lot less stressful. Um, and that I think can contribute to a better, sense of well-being, not being tied to, the chopping board or the knife and the kitchen. It's just like, well, I can eat and then I go and do stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me mentally a lot more than maybe the actual what was going in and getting digested and then coming out in my cells. I think it was the whole lifestyle situation was much better.
Yeah. That sounds good. I felt exactly the same.
Mm.
I am really interested because you do high rocks, you also done CrossFit, and you always do really well in those sports. You do really well at long distance running. Do you like how is your diet different to do running ultra marathon race to when you're preparing for high rocks or CrossFit? Is it different or you still always eat the same? And
Um,
what do you do during and just before?
No, I do change my diet strategy a little bit. Not a big overhaul, but I do change it a little bit based on what I have in the pipeline next. So when I am doing a lot of ultra marathon running and long distance training and that type of stuff, I do actually feel it's a lot easier, both physically and in terms of like organization, I guess, with taking food out on the trails and whatever. Like I do find that being a higher fat protein does, at least for me, help with the endurance stuff. I don't have to eat as much on the trail. I can do 6, 8, 10, 20 hours without food if I have to, or I can do something as simple as some jerky. Or it was great at UTMB when I ran over in France at a lot of their aid stations. They had just blocks of cheese and cabanossi. Whether cheese is carnivore, who knows? It's who cares? But it's higher fat, and I was having pretty much sausage, cabanossi, and cheese as I went through the aid stations, and it was a lot easier than sitting down sucking gels every 20 or 30 minutes trying to have 60 to 100 grams of carbohydrates an hour. Like I could not tell you how many grams of anything that I ate. I just ate by feel and energy level, and I was completely fine. As I transition to more higher power or output type sports, I will bring in some carbohydrates, more so just around training. So it'll be pre-training, try to keep it light, and it might just be like some berries with some honey on it. That's quite easily digestible. And then after training, I might have something a little bit more starchy, like some white or sweet potato. But then the rest of the day, it's back to eating meats and just some sprinkling of vegetables to fill up the plate, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And do you ever fast or do you just eat whenever you're hungry?
I kind of eat whenever I'm hungry, but I I don't deliberately say intermittent fast, but I do backload my calories a lot throughout towards the back end of the day. And I really would like to actually try and break that habit. I'd like to try and finish eating around 6 p.m. But I find that if I go to bed and I've got like one little bit of hunger in me, I just can't sleep and I'll get up and eat. So it's unhealthy, I guess, but I'll eat right up until the minute I go to sleep or go to bed. And then I probably spend half my night digesting food. I know that's not good. I would like to change it, but yeah, I don't eat much at all really up until 2 p.m., I guess. And if I do have something in the morning, it might be just like a banana and an egg, or something like that. But in the mornings, if I don't have to sit down and have a meal either with Jess or someone, sometimes I just won't eat, and I'll eat everything in the afternoon. So I
Yeah.
guess that's a form of fasting.
It definitely is. It would be healthier to eat in the first half of the day and then
Oh,
don't eat. But if you feel good and you're healthy, your blood tests are good, your performance is good, then that's your indicative. I just think we're all different.
mm.
And,
Oh, have you ever tried? I know you're the podcast host, but you ever tried, I guess, reverse intermittent fasting, where you might eat up until lunch or very early afternoon, and then not eat until the next morning?
what do you mean? I always, like, I
So
cannot.
I guess what I was getting to say is that most people think intermittent fasting is like, I'm going to eat 4 to 6 hours out of 18 to 24 or whatever, and I'll eat from 3 p.m. in the afternoon until 6 p.m. at night. Have you ever done it the other way, where I might eat 9 a.m. to 12 and then not eat the rest of the day?
Yeah, I do it like sometimes when I do 24-hour fast, I do it.
Mm,
I just have one meal at lunch and then I don't eat.
yep.
But I wouldn't do it every day because there wouldn't be enough calories for me.
Mm,
I cannot eat the way you eat because if I have full stomach, I cannot sleep. I
yeah,
get
right.
the worst sweat. I feel like I'm in menopause and I'm just like drenched. Like if I have steak at 9 p.m. and go to bed at 10, I wake up and my hair is wet like I just jump
Oh,
out of the
wow.
pool. I cannot do it. So that's the reason why I don't eat after like 6 p.m. Sometimes I do and it's like
Hmm.
occasion, but on a day-to-day basis, I eat around 5 or 6 because it really affects my sleep. And I don't eat in the morning because I get up at 4:30 a.m. I have clients from 5:30 or 6, and I cannot imagine putting food in my mouth at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't want to eat at the gym between clients because I like to sit with my food and eat. So I'm like forced to eat between 10, 11 until 5 or 6 just because of the way my schedule is and how my physiology operates at night.
Yep. And that I think, I think that's probably how most people should probably eat. Like, to be honest, like maybe skip the breakfast and have like more of a brunch, and then have an early dinner. And I think that's probably what most people should do. But like you said, everyone's different.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Although there's some research that says that the muscle protein synthesis is most effective before 10 a.m. So maybe
Hmm.
if your goal is to put on muscle, you should have the breakfast just before 10 if you
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
That's what I would
Fair enough.
recommend. But yeah, everyone is different. And I think that people should listen to how they feel, what makes them feel good, what makes them perform well, look at their blood tests instead of looking at everyone else
Mm, mm,
because we are not all the same. But I wanted to ask you, you started seeing Dr. Paul Mason with your diet
hmm.
and you went through the carnivore and everything. What was the advice he gave you? Because he saw all your like the testosterone, the cholesterol and everything. Is there anything that he advised you to do in regards to your specific physiology and training and your diet?
Yeah. So it was a bit of a test and adjust type approach. So at the start, I saw him when I with my celiac diagnosis, and that's when we went full elimination. And I love speaking to Dr. Mason, and I guess he has to be kind of careful with what he says versus what he believes and what might come back. And when you're getting to know clients, I guess, and I was just straight up. I said, look, tell me. I said, like we're friends. I'm like, what is the best diet for Joe Blow that wants to be health and longevity, and the best diet for an athlete, and see if I can kind of go somewhere in the middle. And his answer was, well, my argument is that the the diet to live to 100 and the diet to be the best athlete should be the same, like both optimal. Um, and initially, at our first couple of consults, he said that I gave me a thing, like a handout, as like elimination, mostly meats and a little bit of watery green vegetables, lettuce and kale and that type of stuff. And then as we got to know each other a little bit better, he's like, look, I know that you're on board now and we're picking up, what each other's putting down. And then he just said, like, the carnivore is the way to go. And we're still playing with a few things as to why my cholesterol goes way up. he has suggested that I do a methylated B complex supplement, and we've been trying some other supplements here and there. But as I said before, like I'm really bad at taking them. And our last conversation was that if we're going to talk percentages, he actually thinks for me it might be something like an 70 to 80% animal based and a 20 to 30% plant matter type situation. And he just said, for my physiology, he goes, although he's not governed by the LDL, he's like, I'm not really comfortable, and it's not in my jurisdiction to say a level of 18 LDL is healthy. He goes, I'd love to see it a little bit lower, and if we can have it a little bit lower with having some of your plant matter, then let's do that. And he said, but for me, and probably you, because you're also celiac, is that the most important thing, regardless of anything, is to not have any gluten. And I think the easiest way to not have any gluten is to just eat meat. Like,
100%. I love
yeah,
the idea of the 80% meat and 20% plant because that's what I have been doing.
yep,
I tried a lot of things as well. I tried to eat the rainbow and have all the veggies and a little bit of meat and fish, and that didn't work for me. And then the full carnivore diet all the time was giving me that extremely high cholesterol as well. I think we're very similar. So now, for the past almost a year, I've been eating like 20% veggies and then 80% meat. Sometimes I have like full carnivore days, but most of the time I have like some avocado, pumpkin, and stuff. And that really works for me, and I'm feeling great. I think that people should actually listen to the way they feel. Like it's a common sense. Like in the summer, you feel like having something cold and light. When it's hot, I'm not gonna drink bone broth at the beach.
true.
And when it's cold in winter, you don't feel like drinking icy cold water and eating sashimi. So I just think that we are so detached from what is our natural state. People don't really, because of eating all the ultra processed foods, fake light, fake life, office life, they actually don't even feel anything in their body. And if you actually are attuned to what you feel and how like you meant to be, you will naturally eat seasonally.
Yeah. And also to go with that is that I guess the way that things are produced and grown these days, like we have access to all those foods 365 days a year. Like you can go to the grocery shop and get pumpkins, say, whenever you want. But I grow my own pumpkins at home, and I know that they don't really grow in winter.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think, it'd be like that's where I like where I live. There's lots of little farmers markets and people sell their produce. So the stuff it's actually quite easy and cheap to eat, because if you do want some of those plant style foods that people um, sell local, like grow in the season, it's actually very cheap to eat because they've got an abundance of it. So, yeah, more people probably should, what can I say, help out the local farmers.
Yeah, 100%. I only shop at the farmers markets and
Mm.
local butchers. I don't buy anything in the supermarket. Yeah, I used to go there to buy toilet paper, and now buy it in my local grocer as well to support local businesses. So yeah,
At
I
least you
know.
said that you buy it.
What'd you
I was
say?
gonna. I said at least you said that you buy it. I was gonna say, oh well, I used to go there to buy toilet paper, but now I just don't use it.
I don't use it. Yeah. That's what I
Like, well,
should
that's
say.
very primal.
Oh, yeah, I live in a cave and don't use toilet paper, right? Okay, that was super interesting, Bobby. I'm so glad I had you on because I just haven't met anyone like you, and it's incredible what you do, and I love that you measure everything. I have last two questions that I ask everyone. If you could give us one health and fitness advice, only one, what would that be? And if you could give us one book tip, what would the book be?
Okay, so the book one is the Arnold Schwarzenegger biography.
That's
Um,
my favorite book.
yeah,
Get out of there.
it's amazing. So I read the paper version, and then I listened to the audible or audio book. And I like it how he chimes in and can reads the forward or other little bits of the thing, and I just love his voice. I've always loved Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I just think he's fascinating with everything that he's achieved. So that would be my number one book. And then fitness advice, or health and fitness advice. I'm going to target this answer more towards the people that hopefully listen to your podcast, which might be a little bit more health conscious, sporty, potentially participate in some events. And I would say for those type of people, generally we have an addictive personality, but it's generally good addictions, quote unquote. So I would say less is more. But I wouldn't say that to somebody that's overweight, sick, and give them an excuse. So I think for people like you and me, we could probably get 100%, 90 to 100% of the benefits that we get from being a little bit more relaxed in our diet, a little bit more happy-go-lucky in our training approach. And if we just knocked everything back a little bit, we'd probably end up being healthier. But as I said, that answer, less is more, is only for those people that might be in our little community and people listening to this. Other people, they probably need the exact opposite. And they need a kick in the bum to get off the couch. And we probably need someone to push us onto the couch occasionally.
It's a great advice, and you and I should actually listen to your
I know.
advice, which we don't, but I'll try, and you should too.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was great, and I will see you soon.
Yes, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Let us know in the comments below what topics interest you, and don't forget to follow us.